Now to a change coming to your grocery store. There are new rules about what's allowed to have an organic food label on it. The USDA is cracking down on fraud amid a surge of popularity in the organic food market.
That organic label you're paying double for? It's legally allowed to contain 95% of the same pesticides as conventional produce. The USDA certification loophole is so absurd, I genuinely couldn't believe it until I saw the exemption list myself. What they're hiding changes everything. Let's start with the seal itself. That little green USDA organic badge, it only requires 95% organic ingredients. The other 5%? Conventional additives, synthetic substances, whatever fits the loophole. And the loophole is massive. Over 200 non-organic substances are legally permitted in certified organic products. We're talking carrageenan, certain food colorings, and a bunch of stuff you'd never guess belongs in organic anything. But here's where it gets really interesting. Getting that organic certification costs farmers between $3,000 and $15,000 annually. So what happens? Small, honest farmers growing beautiful pesticide-free vegetables skip the paperwork entirely. Meanwhile, massive corporations write the check and slap the badge on everything. It's basically a pay-to-play system wearing a green disguise. Now, you might think the USDA watches these operations like hawks. Nope. They employ fewer than 100 inspectors for over 30,000 certified organic operations nationwide. That's one inspector for every 300 farms. My grandmother had better supervision ratios at her bingo night. Gets worse. Inspectors visit farms once per year on average, and many visits are announced ahead of time. That's like telling your teenager exactly when you'll check their browser history. Everyone's suddenly on their best behavior. A 2017 USDA audit found that 38% of organic certifiers failed to properly verify farms actually followed organic rules. 38%. That's not a small oversight. That's a systemic problem dressed up in sustainable packaging. The organic seal isn't necessarily a lie, but it's definitely not the whole truth either. And the certification loopholes? They're nothing compared to what happens when organic food crosses international borders. That's where things get genuinely criminal. Around 40% of organic food sold in America comes from other countries. Turkey, China, Romania, Ukraine. Places where paperwork is basically creative writing. In 2017, investigators caught a single shipment. 36 million pounds of soybeans from Turkey labeled organic. Every test came back positive for pesticides. 36 million pounds. That's not a clerical error. That's industrial-scale lying. But here's where my jaw actually dropped. Romanian and Ukrainian grain exporters developed a beautiful little scam. They load conventional crops onto ships. Somewhere over the Atlantic, the paperwork magically transforms. By the time it hits American ports, certified organic. It's like watching a caterpillar become a butterfly, except the butterfly is fraud. The Washington Post actually tracked cargo ships switching organic certificates mid-ocean. Mid-ocean. There's literally no one to check anything when you're floating in international waters. These guys figured that out real quick. And once that fake organic grain enters our supply chain, game over. It gets mixed into animal feed, ground into flour, baked into your expensive organic bread. Nobody tests it again. Nobody questions it. Your organic granola might be about as organic as my Uncle Jerry's spray-tanned forehead. Meanwhile, honest American organic farmers are getting absolutely crushed. They follow every rule, pay every fee, then compete against imports that cost 30% less because the sellers skip the whole actually being organic part. Estimated losses? $500 million yearly. That's real farmers losing real farms because someone overseas bought a rubber stamp. Foreign fraud is bad enough. But what about the pesticides that organic farming actually allows on purpose? Yeah, organic doesn't mean pesticide-free. And some of those approved chemicals? They'll make you rethink everything. Here's something that'll mess with your head. Organic doesn't mean pesticide-free. Never has. Organic farmers use over 25 different pesticides. Completely legal. Completely approved. The catch? They have to come from natural sources. Copper sulfate is the poster child. Organic vineyards and apple orchards spray this stuff constantly. It kills fungus beautifully, but copper doesn't break down. It just sits there. Year after year, it accumulates in the soil, slowly poisoning earthworms and killing the beneficial microbes that make dirt actually healthy. Some organic fields have copper levels so high they're approaching toxic waste territory. But hey, it's natural. Then there's rotenone. Used to be everywhere in organic farming. Derived from tropical plants. Sounds lovely, right? Researchers discovered it caused Parkinson's-like symptoms in lab animals. Took years to finally ban it. Meanwhile, organic farmers had been spraying it on your food. And here's the kicker that really got me. Because organic pesticides are often weaker than synthetic ones, farmers sometimes spray more frequently. Way more frequently. So while each application might be gentler, you're getting hit with multiple doses instead of one efficient treatment. Spinosad is another organic favorite. Comes from soil bacteria. Sounds innocent enough. Except it absolutely devastates bee populations. One of the most bee-toxic substances used in agriculture, and it's sitting pretty on the organic approved list. My favorite argument? But it's natural. Cool. So is arsenic. So is cyanide. So is mercury. Rattlesnake venom is 100% organic. Doesn't mean I want it on my salad. The word natural triggers this weird brain shortcut where we assume safety. Marketers know this. They exploit it constantly. Speaking of exploitation, let's talk about organic junk food. Because that industry has perfected the art of making garbage sound healthy. Organic cookies, organic chips, organic frozen pizza. Still junk food, just wearing a nicer outfit. Your body doesn't care how the sugar was farmed. When organic cane sugar hits your bloodstream, your pancreas doesn't sit there thinking, "Oh, wonderful, this glucose came from a pesticide-free field in Paraguay." Nope. It spikes your insulin exactly the same way. Calorie for calorie, organic Oreos and regular Oreos are nutritional twins. Same sugar content, same empty carbs, same trip straight to your waistline. But here's where it gets wild. Sales of organic candy and ice cream jumped 15% last year. 15%. People are paying premium prices for organic gummy bears like they're health supplements. I fell for this myself once. Bought an organic frozen pizza thinking I was making a smart choice. Read the label later. 500 calories a slice. Enough sodium to pickle a small fish. But hey, at least the pepperoni was raised humanely before becoming nutritionally worthless. The psychology behind this has a name. Researchers call it the health halo effect. Slap an organic label on garbage, and suddenly our brains categorize it as good for us. Consumer studies found something genuinely disturbing. People eat 40% larger portions when snacks say organic. 40%. We literally consume more junk because we convinced ourselves it's somehow different junk. The organic processed food industry figured this out years ago. They hit $17 billion in annual sales. Not by making food healthier, by making unhealthy food sound healthier. An organic Pop-Tart is still a Pop-Tart. Organic flour organic sugar, organic palm oil. Nutritionally, empty breakfast garbage with better marketing. And the misleading labels don't stop at processed foods. Wait until you hear what's happening with organic meat and eggs. You'd think organic eggs come from happy hens roaming green pastures. Sunshine, fresh air, maybe a little farmhouse in the background. The reality? 20,000 birds crammed into a single warehouse. Here's the loophole. The USDA requires outdoor access for organic poultry. Sounds great, right? But that access can be a tiny concrete porch attached to the building. A porch. That's it. Most hens never even find the door because they're packed too tightly to move. One major producer, Cal Maine, got busted keeping organic hens in conditions nearly identical to conventional battery cages. Same crowding, same stress, different price tag. And cattle? The pasture requirement sounds impressive. Organic cows must graze for at least 120 days per year. Do the math with me. That leaves 245 days where they can sit in feedlots eating grain. Almost 8 months of confinement is totally fine under organic rules. Then there's the antibiotic trick. Organic dairy cows get sick sometimes. Farmers can treat them with antibiotics. The cow just loses its organic status. Quietly gets sold as conventional meat. No disclosure. No tracking. The organic herd stays clean on paper. Here's what really burns me up. The USDA spent 14 years writing stricter animal welfare rules. 14 years of meetings, comments, and revisions. Finally finished them. Then the Trump administration withdrew the rules before they took effect. The organic chicken feed must be certified organic. Mandatory. But the actual chickens? They can live their entire lives on concrete without touching a single blade of grass. You're paying extra for an image that doesn't exist. But misleading labels aren't just about animals. The produce section has its own manipulation game, and it's built on fear. Every April, the Environmental Working Group drops their infamous Dirty Dozen list. Strawberries, spinach, kale, the usual suspects. Social media explodes. Parents panic. Organic strawberry sales spike 40% within a week. Here's what they don't tell you. The list ranks produce by how often pesticides are detected, not how dangerous those levels actually are. Detection does not equal danger. A toxicologist at UC Davis ran the actual numbers. For those scary strawberry residues to harm a 180-pound adult, you'd need to eat 850 servings daily. That's roughly 400 pounds of strawberries every single day for your entire life. I eat maybe 3 strawberries before my kids steal the rest. The EWG uses detection rates because they sound alarming. Found pesticides on 90% of samples. Terrifying, right? But the amounts detected are typically 100 to 1,000 times below any level that would cause health effects. It's like warning people about the radiation in bananas. Technically true, completely meaningless. And here's where it gets frustrating. Studies show people actually buy fewer fruits and vegetables when they believe only organic is safe. Can't afford organic grapes? Skip them entirely. That's backwards thinking causing real nutritional harm. The EWG isn't exactly a neutral party either. They receive funding from organic industry groups. Shocking that their research consistently pushes organic purchasing. I'm not saying pesticides are candy, but the dose makes the poison. Always has. Paracelsus figured that out 500 years ago. The Dirty Dozen manipulates fear, not facts. But confusing labels don't stop at produce lists. The entire grocery store is rigged with terms designed to mislead you, and one word in particular causes more confusion than any other. Here's where grocery shopping becomes a linguistics nightmare. The word natural means absolutely nothing. Zero. Zilch. The FDA has no legal definition for it. None whatsoever. So companies slap natural on products containing high fructose corn syrup, artificial preservatives, and enough sodium to melt a highway. Technically legal, ethically questionable, financially brilliant. I watched a woman spend 15 minutes comparing two granola bars last week. One said all natural. The other said organic. She picked natural, assuming it was healthier. It contained more sugar than a candy bar. Consumer surveys reveal something depressing. 60% of shoppers believe natural and organic mean the same thing. Companies know this. They exploit it constantly. And the organic label itself? It's got levels like a video game. 100% organic means exactly what it says. No conventional ingredients allowed. These products are actually rare. Organic means 95% organic. That 5% wiggle room lets in conventional additives, synthetic vitamins, and a list of approved chemicals you've never heard of. But here's the sneaky one. Made with organic ingredients only requires 70% organic content. Nearly a third of your supposedly healthy product can be completely conventional. They just won't mention that part. Then there's meat labeled naturally raised. Sounds wholesome, right? Like happy cows grazing on mountain meadows. Reality check. Those animals can receive antibiotics, growth hormones, and feed grown with every pesticide in the chemical catalog. The FDA receives thousands of complaints about misleading natural claims every single year. Enforcement actions taken? Almost none. It's linguistic chaos by design. But labels aside, there's something more important than any certification seal. Something that actually improves your health without emptying your wallet. So what actually works? Forget the seal. Find a local farmer. Here's the thing. That guy selling tomatoes at your Saturday market probably uses better practices than some massive certified operation shipping produce 2,000 miles. He just can't afford 15 grand annually for paperwork. I talked to a farmer last month growing pesticide-free peaches. No certification, no fancy labels, just honest answers when I asked what he sprays. Nothing. He sprays nothing. Meanwhile, that certified organic apple traveled from Chile, sat in cold storage for 6 months, and lost half its nutrients before reaching your shopping cart. Makes sense, right? Now, let's talk about washing. Running water removes roughly 80% of surface pesticide residues from conventional produce. Free. Takes 30 seconds. Nobody mentions this because it doesn't sell expensive products. And frozen vegetables? Wildly underrated. Conventional frozen peas picked at peak ripeness contain more vitamins than organic fresh peas shipped across the country 3 weeks ago. Your body doesn't care about the label. It cares about the nutrients. But here's what really matters. Eating more fruits and vegetables of any type reduces disease risk dramatically. Any type. The research is crystal clear. People who avoid conventional produce because they can't afford organic end up eating fewer vegetables overall. That's backwards. That's the fear working exactly as marketers intended. The $60 billion organic industry profits most when you're scared, not when you're informed. So buy what you can afford. Wash it. Eat more of it. Talk to farmers when possible. Stop reading labels like they're sacred texts. Your grandmother ate conventional food her whole life and probably outlived every wellness influencer's predictions. Sometimes simple wisdom beats expensive marketing.